Hello, USAnts fans. After a month-long hiatus, we're back again to bring you more ant-loving content. If you're new to my channel, let me catch you up. Last month, I made the decision to start keeping ants as pets. I purchased 2 queens, one Camponotus Pennsylvanicus and one Messor Barbarus. I took the liberty of naming them Hephaestia and Demeter respectively. If you'd like to learn more about them, go ahead and click on the link in the top corner to see the Meet My Queens video. For those of you who've been following along, my die-hard USAnts fans, you're in for a treat today. I know it took me a while to deliver more content, but Camponotus Pennsylvanicus and Messor Barbarus take a long time to get going. You've been patient though, and today it pays off. But first, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can always be up to date with what's going on with my colonies. Before we get to the ants, I've had questions regarding what I feed my ants and where I get their food from. Up until now, I've been purchasing mealworms from my local pet shop. Since my ant colonies are so small, feedings have been slow. I normally feed them one chopped up mealworm every 3 days. Well, it turns out that mealworms develop faster than my ants do. Before too long, all of my mealworms were gone. They've been replaced with beetles. Not those beetles. That's better. That'd be quite some magic trick. I found myself going to the pet shop again and again, noticing that my mealworms were changing. I thought to myself, this could cost me unnecessary money, so I started researching how to farm mealworms too. This way, my mealworms could grow into beetles, reproduce, and create more mealworms. My ants would never go hungry again. It was the perfect scheme to end ant hunger. So as you've probably ascertained from the title, today we're making a mealworm farm. To start, I had to gather all of my key pieces: 2 stackable containers, fiberglass mesh, Gorilla Glue. Pause the video. This is not for hair. I repeat, this is not for hair. Do not put this in your hair. You don't want those problems. Trust me. Where was I? Oh yeah, a thumbtack? I don't have the right drill bits, but if you do, by all means, save yourself some wrist cramps and use a drill. And finally, some oatmeal. First things first, we need to cut the bottom out of one of the containers. We'll be replacing the bottom with the fiberglass screen. Makes no sense, right? Wrong. When the beetles get ready to lay their eggs, they'll burrow down to the bottom of the oatmeal and lay their eggs on top of the screen. The eggs will fall through and hatch in the bottom container with the other mealworms. Why is this a problem, you ask? Mealworm beetles can, if hungry enough, be persuaded to eat their own young. Even though my babies won't go hungry, I'd like to avoid that at all if possible. I will find some mealworms in the top container, it's inevitable, but I'll just move them myself. After I've cut the bottom off the top container, I'll cut some of the fiberglass screen to go over it. It's a bit too big, so I'll cut it down a little bit more before gluing it on. Here we have the screen glued onto the container. Be sure not to get this on your skin or hair. Wearing gloves is probably a good idea. Gorilla Glue takes a while to harden, so I let mine cure overnight and most of the next day just to be sure. Welcome to tomorrow. It's really nice in the future. Just kidding. Our glue is nice and solid, so now let's give these little guys some air holes to breathe with. As I said before, if you have the necessary drill bits, feel free to use them. I used the thumbtack to make holes and a pair of cuticle scissors to make the holes larger, and now, boy, do my wrists have a story to tell. Now it's time to apply the oatmeal. These mealworms are going to be living in oatmeal. Yep, they'll live in their food. Wouldn't that be glorious? To live in potato chips or popcorn? I'm going to pour about 1 inch worth of oatmeal into the bottom container. We'll spread that around so it's nice and even. It doesn't have to be. They are going to sift it around anyway. And I'll do the same thing in the top container. As I said before, they'll lay their eggs onto the screen and they'll fall through. I'll grab any stragglers as I find them. So here I am pouring 1 inch of oatmeal into the top container too. This is where I'm currently keeping my mealworms. This tiny little food container was their home for the last month. I found it kind of ironic that I kept them in a food container, seeing as how they're food. As you can see, some of them have already turned into beetles. So now I'm just going to take time to separate the adults from the worms. I know, some of you are grossed out right now. I'm literally touching them with my hands. But don't worry, they are harmless to humans. They're not poisonous, and their jaws are a bit too small to do any damage to me. Meet Hermes, one of my cats. He's curious as to what's going on. This is his first time meeting the mealworms after all. I dropped in some potato slices. All of Earth's creatures need water, and since I can't add water to the oatmeal because it'll mold, and I can't add a pool for the mealworms to drink from, they'll drown, I feed them potato slices. This way they can still get the water they need to sustain life. And now, for the final product. You've not seen anything like this since the Great Pyramids of Giza or the Tower of Babylon, featuring not one, but 2 stories of luxurious living space. I present to you our new mealworm habitat. It comes standard with all the needs of today's modern mealworm family, a nursery on the bottom level, and an adults only room on top. The finest in toilet paper rolls, and the comfiest oatmeal you've ever laid on. Here's a mealworm checking out his new pad now. Looks like the rest of these guys are hiding. Oh, here's 2 more. I'm sure these guys are going to be fine in here. Let's let these guys get used to their new home. We can pop in and see how our queens are doing though. Let's start with Hephaestia, our Camponotus Pennsylvanicus queen. Their numbers still haven't grown yet as far as ants go, but look, those aren't just eggs she's moving, that's larvae. We finally get to see them at work tending to larvae. Watch the nanitics. The first batch of workers clean them. They'll diligently clean the larvae with their spit, which is actually an antibiotic. This helps to protect the larvae from any potentially harmful bacteria or germs. They'll also feed these little ladies through a process known as trophallaxis. They'll vomit into their mouths. You can see how swollen this worker's gaster is. They've been getting their fill of mealworms to feed the larva and the queen with. Those 2 need protein. The queen needs it to keep laying eggs, and the larvae need it to grow big and strong. Due to their higher protein intake, this generation of workers should be bigger and stronger than the nanitics. They won't be as timid, and I'll be able to do live feedings of small insects like fruit flies in the future. Probably the thing I'm most excited for is when the majors arrive. These girls will be closer in size to the queen than the nanitics. They'll have giant mandibles for crushing tough exoskeletons of prey too, but that's far down the road, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. I thought this was pretty cool. One of the larvae got stuck to the queen's gaster, but that worker closest to the glass knew the entire time, and as soon as it came off the queen, she went in ever so gently and snatched it up to put it back with her sisters. I mean, it's just fascinating how these powerful jaws can be used to do something as tender as to pick up a baby. Man, it really makes you think. Let's take a look at Demeter, our Messerbarous Queen. She's been locked up in a drawer for a month. I open the drawer once a week to make sure she's still kicking. Her brood looks slightly larger than the last time I checked on her. They're still a bit too small for me to tell if the eggs have hatched or not, or if she's laid more eggs. Either way, I'm happy that there's some change in there. One day, she'll have nanitics of her own to help her tend to the brood, but for now, it's back to the drawer with her. We'll get another look at her next month. Well, that just about does it for this week's video. What was your favorite part? The mealworm farm or the check-in with the queens? My favorite part was seeing Hephaestia's larva up close. If you like what you saw today, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to do so you can get notified of any future videos. And be sure to watch my other videos so you can get caught up with the USAnts family. As always, let me know down in the comments section what you thought. If you'd like to see any particular content, let me know and I'll try to get that for you. Until next time, same ant channel, same ant love.